Namaste and welcome to the Samvaad Project podcast. Please like, share with a friend, and subscribe to the Samvaad Project. Today we're diving deep into an ancient text that's really, well, it's less of a book you'd read and way more of a musical score you'd sing. We're talking about the Samaveda, one of the oldest scriptures in the world. And our mission today? We're going to crack the code behind its sacred music.
So you want to crack a code, right? The first thing you got to do is understand the language it's written in. So before we can even get to the music, we need to look at the blueprint, the actual structure of the Samaveda text itself.
Let's just start with a number, 1,875. The specific school of the Samaveda we're looking at, the Kauthuma school, contains exactly this many base verses, or mantras. And what's really interesting is that almost all of them aren't even unique to the Samaveda. They're actually borrowed from an even older Veda, the Rig Veda. Now, these 1,875 mantras aren't just thrown into one long list. They're very neatly organized into two main books. The first one is the Pūrvārcikā, which has 650 mantras. And the second one, which is much, much bigger, is the Uttarārcikā, and that contains the other 1,225. You can kind of think of it like Volume 1 and Volume 2.
And believe me, this meticulous organization, it just keeps going. The text is broken down into these larger chapters called Pūrvārcikas, and those are divided into even smaller groups of verses, like the Daśatis, which is like a decade of about 10 verses, or the Sūkta, which is a hymn that usually has 3. It's really like a highly structured, perfectly organized library of sound.
All right, so we've got the text structure down. Now it's time for the next big clue in our code, the musical notation. See, the Samaveda doesn't use notes like you and I might think of, like do, re, mi. Instead, it uses this completely unique system of accents to guide the melody.
So here's the really crucial point. Other Vedas, like the Rig Veda, they used pretty simple marks, like bars above or below a syllable to show the different tones. But the Samaveda, it developed its own thing entirely. It actually uses Devanagari numerals, a 1 for a high tone, a 2 for a falling tone, and the 3 for a low tone, and it places them right above the syllables. It's a much more distinct and, explicit way of writing down music.
And honestly, it gets even more sophisticated from there. You see these special combination markers? They aren't just single notes. Oh no, they are complex instructions. So for example, one of them might tell the chanter exactly how to handle the tone of a syllable, but only when it comes after 2 high tones in a row. I mean, we're talking about an incredibly detailed system for preserving a very precise melody.
Okay, we have the text structure. We have its unique notation system. Now it's time for the aha moment. Let's put it all together and see the exact formula, the recipe, for how that simple verse gets transformed into the elaborate chant.
This is the secret sauce. Ancient scholars laid out a whole series of defined modifications. A simple letter might get swapped out for another, that's vikara. A vowel might get stretched out for several beats, that's called vikarsana. Whole words might get repeated, that's abhyasa. And then you have my personal favorite, stoba. That's the insertion of these vocables, like hawa or hoi, syllables that have zero linguistic meaning but are purely musical and spiritual. It's this exact systematic process that expands the mantra into the gana.
So, okay, we've cracked the code of transformation. But here's the last piece of the puzzle, and honestly, it might be the most mind-blowing part of this whole story. How on earth did they make sure this incredibly complex music was passed down perfectly, with no errors, for thousands of years? Well, they invented a brilliant built-in error-checking system.
So get this, at the end of a group of verses, the scribes would place a single what looks like a totally random syllable. But this little syllable, it was anything but random. It was basically an ancient checksum, a form of data validation that actually encoded mathematical information about the entire chant that came right before it.
Just look at how this works. It's wild. The syllable is broken into its consonant and its vowel. The position of that vowel in the Sanskrit alphabet tells you the exact number of one type of accent mark. Then, the row and the column of the consonant in the alphabet grid tells you the counts for 2 other features in the chant. So a chanter or a scribe could perform the whole chant, count up all the different accents, and then check their work against the code hidden in that one single final syllable. It is absolutely ingenious. And this wasn't some kind of magic. As this quote points out, it was a deeply practical system. The sages knew how important precise sound and vibration were, and they developed these unbelievable mnemonic and mathematical tools to preserve the sonic integrity of the Vedas across millennia.
So there you have it, the whole journey. From a simple line of text, transformed through a clear set of rules into this breathtakingly complex musical piece, and then guarded for ages by a sophisticated air-checking code that was hidden in plain sight the whole time. It's a complete system of composition, notation, and preservation, all in one.
And really, it just leaves you with this one final, fascinating question. The Samaveda reveals a level of systematic, almost computational thinking that we just don't usually associate with the ancient world. It really makes you wonder, what other ancient knowledge holds these kinds of hidden layers of sophistication, just waiting for us to come along and crack the code? See you in the next episode of the Samvaad Project podcast.